Welcome to Fictionary. Sit back, relax, and sip some tea while I chat with author Brittany Gathing and we spill some tea. You heard me right. Today, I am interviewing up-and-coming fantasy author Brittany Gathing. She is a mother of two beautiful young ladies and a military wife. She is an artist, and she is, of course, a writer. She's completed her first book, The Unseen Age of Deliverance, which is a planned trilogy, and she is also living in the beautiful land of Hawaii. And yes, I said Hawaii, not Hawaii, because I like to front and pretend that I am from Hawaii. I'm not. It's okay. I feel jealous. You should too. I mean, Hawaii is literally my favorite place. I was fortunate to live there for quite a few years. I was there long enough that I got a Kama'aina card. So represent, just saying. I love Hawaii, and it was really one of the best times of my life. I have so much love for the culture and the beauty of Hawaii. But we'll save that and we'll talk about that more maybe on another episode. I don't want to waste any more of our time. We're going to jump right in on our interview. Just an ears up, this was recorded using Zoom because I'm not on that level yet. So prepare yourselves for some variations in the audio. Okay. Enough said. We're going to go ahead and get started on this. Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for joining me today on Fictionary. I'm really excited to have an opportunity to speak with you today. So to get us warmed up, I want to open us with a segment called This or That. Have you heard of that game before?
This would be the first time.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present you with two different options. And then from those options, you have to choose the one that you prefer. So for example, if I said wine or beer, then you would obviously choose
wine.
Yeah,
definitely.
So it's gonna be a fast action. So like just off the top of your head, don't overthink it. If you want to give a little bit of explanation as to why you made your selection, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, but if you feel the need to, I'm here for it. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
Netflix or Hulu?
Hulu.
Hulu.
Look, every time I get on Netflix, it wants to buffer and then I can't finish my shows. Then they're super late with adding seasons. So I like Hulu because they have a bunch of different branches, and whenever they put stuff out, it's literally on the next day when it's also airing on TV. So I like Hulu better, and more of my shows are also on Hulu. So the only thing I don't like about it is the commercials.
Okay. Wow. I'm just shocked. I've never heard anybody choose Hulu over Netflix, but
I know, but
to each his own, or to each her own, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hang out with little kids or older people?
I like a mixture of both, but if I had to choose, it would be older people.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
Board games or video games?
Ooh, video games.
Don't you play D&D?
I do play D&D, but then it's hard to find a good crew, and it's like you got to get everybody together. But then when I turn on the console, like my game is there, all my NPCs are there, so if I want to do a mission, I can just do it. I don't have to wait for nobody.
I feel you. Video games are more independent.
Yes, definitely.
All right, here's a good one. Call or text message?
Call.
Really? You were just blowing my mind already.
I'm so weird. I love to talk to people over text message because I'm one of those people who reads into everything that somebody says. And you can't really hear emotion in a text message. So sometimes I'll be texting my husband and he'll text me something that seems very impersonal and rude. and he could be joking and I won't know and I'll get mad. So I enjoy hearing people's voices and their emotions. It makes me happy. So.
Mm. All right. Share food or don't share food?
I would like to share other people's food.
Ooh. You're one of those.
I'll share. I'll give you some, but here's the thing. I eat really fast. So when it comes down to somebody actually getting a bite of mine, usually my stuff is always gone. So, I mean, if you want to share, you need to let me know beforehand so I can give you some.
Or there won't be anything to share.
Exactly.
All right. Android or iPhone?
iPhone, just because that's what I have right now. And all my friends have it too. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. BTS or NSYNC?
What about Backstreet Boys?
Okay. We can throw them in there. BTS, Backstreet Boys, or NSYNC?
I would choose probably BTS and Backstreet Boys. I love NSYNC, but like I have more songs that I listen to from BTS and Backstreet Boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm like pretty loyal to NSYNC, except for Justin Timberlake really just ruined everything for me when he refused to do like a comeback album with them. And ever since, girl, it was like when they first, like when he decided he was like going solo, he's like, I'm doing pretty well without you guys, so no, I'm good.
Oh, that's so petty.
Yeah,
Why? That's awful.
Yeah, it makes me sad because I was in love with Joey Fatone. Okay.
Oh.
All right. Talking pets or talking babies?
Talking pets.
Either one is creepy to me.
I know. I mean, my child talks enough already as it is. We don't need to start it at baby age.
I mean, the only thing I could think of is like with babies, like if the baby could talk, then they wouldn't have to cry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lily can talk and she still cries. So I feel like it would be a mixture of both.
So it's not mutually exclusive. Like one doesn't erase the other.
It just becomes one big ball of screaming and talking at the same time.
Okay, here's a good one. Zombies or vampires?
Vampires.
Me too. But I'm on it. Vampires as far as if they were like really in existence, because I would love to meet a vampire. I don't know if you heard that episode where I was.
Yes, I did. When you were like vampire Lestat, I was like, oh girl, yes.
Girl, yes. But like zombies, as far as like writing about, like I just feel like I love writing zombie stories.
Yeah, I love
but I wouldn't
apocalypse settings in general. So I feel like that with the zombies, but definitely vampires.
Yeah. All right. Instagram or Facebook?
Oof. I like Facebook just because I know it better and my family's on there. I'm not a huge social media person in general. I'm like an old person stuck in a young person's body. So I generally don't like either, but if I had to choose, it'd be Facebook.
I was going to say Facebook is like the choice of like the older generation.
I'm so old at heart. Like, I don't understand it, but it is what it is.
I try to fake the funk and I'm like, I'm on TikTok. I have a Snapchat. I'm young. Look at me. Oh.
Right.
But in my heart of hearts, it's Facebook.
Right. That's what I know.
Exactly. Bad breath or body odor?
Body odor. I can't stand somebody with bad breath. Like, brush your teeth, floss. It's not that hard unless you have a medical problem. But,
yeah,
you know, body odor, that's easy to fix, I feel.
I don't know. Like, because I feel like if they have bad breath and they keep their mouth closed, like, I'm not going to smell it.
Yeah.
And
but what if you want to kiss them?
Yeah, if they were to come towards me and their mouth was...
I feel like it's easier for me to tell somebody you need to take a shower over your breath stinks. I feel like that's worse. In some kind of way, I don't know. Because maybe I don't know. I just feel like it's gross.
So which is the worst to deal with? Like, can I tell you that you stink, or can I tell you that your breath is kicking?
I tell people they stink all the time, but usually it's people I know. I don't know.
So you guys, if you run into Brittany on the street and you forgot deodorant, or beware. She might call you out.
I'm not going to do it to a random stranger on the street, so it's okay.
I hope not. I mean, I use the natural deodorant, so I'm always like hyper conscious, like, do I stink?
Yeah, I do too. And I get that. You're like, is it working? Did I do too much today?
Like, just give me that aluminum, man. Let's go for it.
I don't know.
All right.
Which it was.
Ketchup or ranch?
Ranch.
They have a new thing, like, what's it called? Cranch, like ketchup ranch, and you can actually buy it.
Why don't you just mix it at home?
Well, I had a friend when I was younger, and like she came to my house and we had corn dogs, and I'll never forget it because she was like, "Do you have ketchup and ranch?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she mixed it together to dip her corn dog in, and I thought it was disgusting.
Have you tried it?
Well, I tried it, and I was like, "Oh, it's actually pretty tasty." But whenever I think of ketchup and ranch, I always think of my friend Jessica because I was shaken.
Yeah, I've never tried it. It doesn't sound appetizing to me, but now I'm intrigued.
Well, even like in PR in Puerto Rico, they do a thing. It's like called mayo chup, and it's just ketchup and mayo. And you dip your tostones in it, and it's delicious. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I like it.
That sounds like something I would eat.
Well, I mean, it's essentially ketchup ranch, cranch.
You know what? I'm going to go downstairs and try it after we're done with this.
All right, you're going to have to let us know how it went.
I will.
All right. We have 2 more of these. See the future or change the past?
See the future with some restrictions. I don't want to see how I die. But I feel like everything that I've done in the past created the person that I am today. So I don't want to end up messing something up in my present. So I would do future, definitely.
Wow, that's like beautiful because like a lot of people want to go and change the past, but you're like, I like who I am.
Yes. And it took me a long time to get to this point in my life, and I'm not trying to go backwards because I know that would just create new problems. So I'm fine with this.
I'm here for that. I still would like to change the past.
Really? I mean, it depends on what it is that you're changing, one. And then two, if you're careful, I guess you could get away with it.
Like, just a few different choices that I would have made. Because when you think about it, like who I am now, like my logic, the way that I think, I feel like, you know how they say your frontal lobe's not fully formed for a long time?
Yes.
Like, I feel like I was really struggling under the weight of that. Frontal lobe. My frontal lobe was just refusing to form, and I look back at decisions and I'm like, what were you thinking?
Oh my gosh, I completely understand that. I have those moments, but at this point, I'm just like, it is what it is. I'm sorry to anybody who encountered past Brittany, but I'm a new person. You should.
You know what? That's I'm gonna throw that out there, you guys. I'm sorry for anybody who had to deal with Deetra of the past. She's a new person, and she's pretty cool. So let's meet again.
Right. Start on it.
All right. So the last question: time machine or a magic wand?
A magic wand.
I agree. I would love to have a magic wand.
Me too. I don't know what kind of wreck I would have going on in my house, but it would be fun.
Yeah, the only thing it makes me like, okay, so if you think about like Harry Potter, right? Like you have to learn how to do the spells and you have to learn how to wave your wand properly. So if there's like a lot of depth that goes into actually using the wand, oh no.
I would love, like, just give me a wand and my Hogwarts letter, and I'm on my way.
If only, if only. All right. So that was fun. And I'm excited because we're going to be talking about your writing now. One of the reasons why I wanted to interview you is because you just finished your first novel,
Yes, I did.
um, The Unseen, and I'm really excited for it. I already pre-ordered ordered it on Amazon. So just for you guys out there, it's The Unseen: Age of Deliverance. I'll have the notes, the information in the show notes, so you can check it out. Definitely worth the read. I got to be a beta reader and get a glimpse into the world that she's created, and guys, it's dope. Okay. So in finishing your first book, Brittany, and you're in the editing process, how do you feel? How's it going for you?
For me, I mean, it's definitely a process with the editing, but in general, how I feel, like it feels amazing. It's one of those things that I always wanted to do. Ever since I was little, I was always creating stories. So to finally have like my story done and I'm looking at it and it's an actual book and people are going to read it, it's like a dream come true. And also it's terrifying. So yes.
Why do you find it terrifying?
Because it's, for me, writing is such a vulnerable thing. Like I put my whole life for the past 5 years that I've been writing this book, like my blood, my sweat, wondering if people are going to like it. Like, and it being my first book, I feel like so many people are going to judge it. So for me, like putting myself out there has always been hard. I've always loved writing, but I kept a lot of the things that I wrote to myself. So this is like a baby that I'm putting out into the world and like hoping that it thrives and people love it. But there's always that possibility that, it might not. And I feel like you shouldn't think that way. And that's what I'm trying to, keep myself from doing. Like, look, you love it. There are people out there that already have read it and love it. So, like, just follow your heart and, do what you got to do.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a numbers game, really. Like when you think about anything that you do in this world, there's always going to be people that don't like it. And there's going to be the people that are like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So the more people that have the opportunity to see it, that's where you find your people. So don't even worry about like anybody that would try to detract from you, and just focus on your people, the people that come alongside you and are like, yo, I'm here for what you're doing. This is awesome. This is amazing. I'm one of them. I love it.
I'm so glad you love it.
So I'm going to ask just, some questions like about your writing process. So when I'm writing, like I like to have like a nice drink with me and maybe some snacks. And I always listen to music. So like I have like this setup when I get into the zone. So what about you? What kind of setup do you do when you write?
I'll have maybe some tea as far as drinks go. Sometimes I'll do music, and this is probably going to sound weird, but I like to set the scene. So if I'm writing a particular scene in my book, like I will find on YouTube, like if it's a traveling scene and they're in a cart and wagon or they're in a tavern, like I'll have like set the atmosphere. Like I'll have the tavern sounds, like you hear people whispering and talking to each other in the background. So it kind of puts me in the place of where I'm writing, and it helps me like build my story around it, like create the atmosphere, and it makes it real for me as I'm writing. Sometimes
Can I just say that?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I love that you do that because I do the same thing.
I always thought it was weird. I'm like, I'm in the tavern right now. Don't knock on the door. But
I do the same thing when I'm writing as well. I like to get mood music for whatever the scene is that I'm writing. So if I'm like writing a pirate battle, then I need like swords clanging and like it gets you into that energy.
I love that.
Yeah. So what is your favorite season to write in?
Fall. Fall is my absolute favorite season of all time. I feel like the crisp, cold air, and then you get the fireplace. Although I'm in Hawaii, there ain't no fireplaces, but at least not in my house. But I like the overall feel of it. It just makes me feel like I'm cozy. I can sit in front of my computer and just write my story.
I think I like fall, like winter or spring for writing.
Yeah. I love spring to look at, but I have allergies. So
Me too. And that's why I like to be inside writing.
Right? Like, I don't want to be out in that. So, but yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's close our eyes and then picture this. You're feeling uninspired and you've been sitting in front of your computer for an hour without any words. How do you get your creativity flowing?
I will read a book or I will play a video game.
How do video games inspire you?
Let me explain. So I love adventure video games. Like, it's the type of game for me. And the ones that like I play are usually open world. You get to create your character and you wander off into this world created by someone else. And they throw you on all of these quests. So like in my mind, when I create my character and I put them out there, usually if I'm stuck on a story, I'll create a character based off of one of the characters in my book and I'll send them on a quest. And it'll immediately like generate ideas like, ooh, that'll be really cool, or, you know, something like that. Or I'll meditate and I have in my mind my own like meditation dialogue of like you'll just get some, you know, mood music or whatever and get quiet and like basically put myself in a blank plane and just start creating of whatever it pops up into my head. And then if I generate ideas from that, then I'll write them down and put it onto, you know, into my story. If anything good comes out of it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's, you know.
That's very cool. I like the idea with the video game thing. That's pretty, like putting your characters into actual like events. I mean, it's on a video game, but it's like a cool way to get like the juices flowing. I never would have thought of that. So speaking of books, do you like audiobooks, physical books, or like an e-reader, like ebooks better?
I prefer actually holding the book in my hand, but lately I've been really into audiobooks. And I mean, I don't know if it's just because I'm busy and I got kids and, you know, I'm doing all this stuff, but audiobooks have saved my life. I've read so many or listened to so many books over this past year, and like I feel like I'm getting more towards audiobooks than I am. Like I usually want both. I'll have the audiobook and the hard copy. So if I ever want to go back and read it, you know, but definitely both hard copy and audio.
Yeah, I'm definitely, because I work full time. So like I'll listen to audiobooks while I work. And I find that I really do love the audiobook format. It's like kind of like listening to a movie, especially when there's a good narrator.
Yes, I love that.
But I do find I miss the physical books. I actually am thinking of starting a challenge, the Read to Write challenge, because I feel like in order for us to be better writers, it's important for us to actually read. And while we listen, we're getting the stories, but I think there's just something different about like actually reading the words as they are written. that helps us to be better writers, even just like with the like grammar and like how you structure a sentence.
It
Like
definitely helps.
hearing it, yeah, hearing it's different than actually seeing it in front of you. So here's a interesting question about your characters. Do you feel like it's more important to have either A, strong characters, B, mind-blowing plot twist, or C, epic settings?
I'm gonna say strong characters, because if you don't have characters that you're interested in, none of the rest of it matters. Because it's like, you know, you're following these people through this journey or whatever, but if you don't really care about them, why does the rest of the journey matter? You know?
Great. Yeah. I think that's very accurate. If you, like if you don't care about the people involved, like you're just like, okay.
Exactly.
There's nothing interesting. You have to be invested in their story. So I agree, strong characters. All right. What's the funniest typo that you've ever written?
I don't even know. There's so many. I don't know any specific ones. I just know one time I struggle with dyslexia. So when I get really tired, sometimes I'll write things backwards. And I've gone back and written stuff that I was up late, or read stuff that I was up late writing. And like, there would be words that were spelled backwards, but they were still correct. And I'm like, how on earth did I even do this? So, you know, it is what it is. That's why I have to double check if I'm up. I'm definitely a morning writer. So if I'm up late doing any kind of work, I know I have to go over it because I know it's not going to be good.
It's going to be interesting.
Right.
So you mentioned that you struggle with dyslexia. How has that either challenged you in your writing or helped you in your writing?
Well, for me, it's mostly reading that I struggle with, which is another reason why I gravitate more towards audiobooks now that I'm older, since it's an option for me. But like, just typically being able to read as fast as other people, like I have to take my time. I have to make sure that anything that I'm reading, I read it right, because there are some things that I'll replace words or I'll switch them, the order of them. And it's the same thing with writing. Like I just have to go over and be careful. Like if I'm typing fast, I have to make sure I go back and double check what it is that I'm doing, making sure that I'm not, you know, getting it all jumbled up so people can understand it. But I mean, I don't think that it's something that will stop me from being able to create what I am. It'll just take me, you know, a little bit longer than other people, you know?
Yeah, you got to work through different things to get to where you want to be. I think it would probably make you a better writer just in the fact that you do go through it again and again to make sure that you catch anything.
Like I go over it so much, it almost becomes like obsessive. So like, I don't want people to think that I'm dumb. So I have to go back through and look at this over and over again.
Let me just read this one more time. I read when I'm writing, like I'll read, like I was telling my sister, I'll be writing and I'll write a paragraph and then I'll go through and read it out loud like several times to see if I catch anything. And then I'll go back again. Like I kind of do the editing process as I go.
I feel like it's better. Some people say you shouldn't, and some people say you should, but I think it's better if you do it, because then you'll have less work at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I guess it's a hit or miss. Like, should you edit as you go or should you just write as the ideas come? I guess it also depends on how it's flowing. Like if you're in the flow, then just let it flow.
But I see, and I feel like if you're in a session that like really flows, then don't stop But then after that session, take a good period of time to like go over that. Cause, you know, I'm in the flow sometimes. And like I said, I have dyslexia and different things. So I know I have to go back and look at it. But,
take a look.
You know, I didn't do that. It also depends on how long your project is. I didn't go back and edit. I just went with the flow with my first book. And I feel like when I got to the end of the very first draft that I ever did, it was so overwhelming to look at all the things that I had to go back and correct. So I feel like if I was going to change anything in the past, it would be like, Brittany, at least after every 3 chapters, go back and edit. At least do some sort of.
So you're not so overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like for me, if I see so many, you know, marks and stuff that I have to go back and change, like I'll get discouraged. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's definitely hard, especially when you give it over to other people to look at for you.
And then you're like,
I fall victim to like I get very defensive.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean this doesn't make sense?
So it's like it's a part of me I have to turn off. Like I'm like, it made sense when I wrote it. Maybe you're just reading it wrong.
I get the same way. I try not to. I don't say these things to the other people who are reading my stuff, but I just be like, ugh, you don't understand.
It's just like you can't help it. It's because it's like in your mind you have it. It makes sense to you. But I find that like even in work, like people will send an email and I'll read is this what you meant to say? And so like if I give myself a little bit of time, because like it can't be overwhelming, you know, when you see like all of the marks and you're like, what the hell? But if you just take that step back and give yourself a little bit of time and then come back to it like piece by piece and kind of settle your soul, it's like a little bit easier to digest, right. I think. And also if you have people that you trust, yes. Right?
I have a circle of people that I trust. You are one of them. And you know, I take their advice because I know they're not going to steer me wrong. And I know that they're not going to purposefully like go out and hurt me. Like Shantae, I know I love her to pieces, my best friend. But she will give me some insight and I'm like, I'll take her word for it over my husband's any day. Cause like, I trust her. Him, I mean, not that I don't trust his opinion, but like, you know, she's my best friend and I feel like she'll be more honest because, you know, I'll love her regardless. Me and him will fight all day. Like, what did you say about my work? Excuse me, you're not eating dinner tonight. I'm sorry.
I think it's true. Shantae is definitely somebody that I look to for advice on things. Just because I know I trust her motivations behind what she says to me. Like she's not anything that she says, she's saying it or doing it because out of love or because she really thinks it's going to help.
Yeah.
So on that note, do you have any writing buddies? I know you mentioned Shantae.
Yeah, we started. Me and Shantae started writing these books together. So she was my writing buddy until she moved away. But right now, I kind of do it on my own. I've been looking to try and find someone that can, you know, be consistent with me and like write things. But like, you know, with Shantae, the time difference is so far away with us. It's hard to be like, let's do this together because we're always on different parts of our days. So.
Have you ever tried or done any kind of like writing competitions or challenges?
I did one on a Facebook group and I didn't like what the girl said about my character because I didn't win. And I took that as maybe I'm not ready because I feel like I get defensive, and it kind of hurt my
Mm-hmm.
feelings. So I don't know. I've been wanting to get back out there and do it, but I haven't got the courage to put my stuff out there into a contest again.
Oh, they will rip you. It's good because because I mean, like, especially when you're going through the publishing process, you know, you're going to deal with people coming for your work, and how you respond to that. I think like the challenge, like doing those kind of competitions are a good way to help thicken your skin so that you are able to deal with that and deal with the defensive-ness that you get. Cause I get the same way, like 100%.
I can't. I do need to try though. Like I feel there was one contest that came up because I had an idea that I wanted for a show, like an actual show. And I was going to enter that competition, but I got things with the project got delayed. So I didn't, and I kind of got nervous. So maybe I should revisit that idea.
I think you definitely should. I know one thing I do say, I encourage you because like what I found and what actually inspired me to start the group Writers World was because I entered a contest and they had like political satire as one of the genres that we had to write, which, hello, politics is a dangerous zone. Like, I don't know why they had that in there. But my story dealt with the George Floyd situation. Wow. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm going to write about what I believe, what I feel, what's really plaguing me at the time, and what's on my mind. And it was not well received.
What?
But when I went and, because like I was just trying to understand because the feedback was so different from my first submission to the group. Like I got first place and they had such positive feedback, but my story wasn't really dealing with anything racial or anything political. It was just a story. And so when I went to look at like the panel of judges, everyone was white, which I'm not saying white people can't appreciate my perspective, but I think that, you know, it can be a little bit daunting as a woman of color.
Especially if you don't know their point of view. Like it's wow. Yeah, so like I definitely encourage you to like look for those groups and those challenges that do have like a more you know, multicultural, like across the board, like there's just different people represented on the panel, because like that was discouraging for me, but it was also encouraging in the fact that I saw, okay, I have a voice, I have stories to tell, and everyone can't tell them, and everyone's not going to be able to receive them. And even in your book that you have coming up, your characters, you want to tell us a little bit about your characters or your book, like the world that you've created? Yes, I can. There's so much information. I always go off on this huge tangent, but I'm going to try and like...
but just like a quick like log line, like a synopsis.
I will try that. The cast of my book is very, I want to say multicultural. But in general, like a synopsis of my book, it's set in a world where there is kings and queens, and then you have the people that are called the unseen. And the unseen are people that were captured and enslaved in this land, and they have unique abilities of empathy, which is the reason why they ended up being captured. Because I don't know if you've ever experienced a situation where you've been in a room with someone who's had like a negative attitude or just a vibe, and it rubbed off on you and you started feeling, you know, that kind of energy. So these people, that's kind of amplified in my story because I'm a type of person who feels that on a next level in real life. And it gives it like a physical sort of power. So the unseen, it bases around my character, Camellia, and she has the ability to feel people's energies, but then she finds out that she's different from others. She finds out that she has a power that is triggered inside of her when the crown prince comes home. And she finds out that, you know, this is related to her heritage and where her people are really from. And she realizes that she needs to figure out what's happening to her. And she goes on this journey. It's kind of hard to explain. There's so much information. But in general, it's a journey of her trying to, you know, find out where she's come from, where these powers are coming from, why her people have been enslaved, and in general, a way to save everyone that she loves from this tyranny.
I personally have been able to read some, and guys, it's really good. And I really love, Brittany, how you said you're taking a real life thing that you deal with, you know, this empathy, and you've turned it into something physical, basically, in your book, right? Like a power, and that's pretty cool. Are there any other areas that are, you know, real life situations that you have experienced or seen that you explore a little bit in your book?
Well, with my book, it's very fantasy, but I do my characters in the book are the unseen, they're covered from head to toe. They wear masks until, you know, they escape. But I feel like the mask was sort of a representation of my my shyness or my enclosed, you know, personality. I feel like when I was younger, I sort of hid who I really was from a lot of people. And it was sort of like I wore a mask. I was really good at, you know, going in between different crowds and everything, but I never really like showed who I was. And it was like when she's finally free, she removes her mask and her real self emerges, which is, you know, kind of how I felt when I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to be who I am in real life. And I feel like that's kind of what the mask and everything represented in my story for me personally. But I just, you know, I put that in there because I know there's got to be other people that feel that same way or feel like they've been forced to live in a certain way when, you know, they really are someone else. So.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of times that mask is, it's the way that people see, right? It's that way that you get that acceptance, that to be able to move about in the world, that mask is kind of your key in. But when you remove that mask, it can be scary, right? Because are people going to accept the real me who's underneath? Or do I need to continue to present in a certain way to be accepted?
Yeah. And that's one of the parts. Sorry, I know I'm probably long-winded about this because I get so excited talking about my story. But
no.
There's a part in the book where Camellia is in, she is escaping and she has her mask off. And like, she feels vulnerable, but she's out in the open, you know, and she has this thought like she wishes she had it. But at that point, it's not a situation where she can be wearing the mask in the first place. So it's like almost forcing her to, you know, own up to who she is. And it's just that thought that we all have, you know, like we're finally putting ourselves out there, but sometimes we want to fall back on putting that mask on. And,
Mm.
like, I just really love that part because it was like, I feel that way sometimes. Like, I'm really putting myself out there, but sometimes I do wish that I could hide again. But I feel like at this point, that's not an option. So,
Right. I mean, because even though there is, because it's crazy, right? Because it feels like there is a certain amount of like freedom that wearing that mask allows you and protection, but when you release yourself from that mask and you let it go, and that level of freedom is the freedom that I think we all aspire to, but it's kind of
yes,
terrifying.
very.
So I'm really excited. I'm excited for the world to be able to read your book and discover this world that you've created. Again, it's The Unseen Age of Deliverance, and it's the first in a planned trilogy. Brittany says it's planned to be a trilogy, but what, it could be
Yeah.
more, right?
Well, and that's another thing. Like my book is based in a world that I created. So I do plan on continuing to make stories within this like entire world. Like I don't know if I mentioned, but I have the short story series, and the series that it's on Kindle Vella right now, but the Traveler's Journey also connects to the unseen. So one of the characters in there will eventually show up in the trilogy in the book. So I kind of, I kind of
Ooh.
made it to where I want them to connect, and I want to
Mhm.
make different stories within this world. And I mean, it's not like it's going to be the end of these characters. They might show up eventually and they might not. It depends. But, if they're all in the same world, there's a possibility that they'll cross paths again. So,
I love that. And I love that you brought up the Traveler's Journey, because we're going to be reading a portion of that today. Yeah. I'm very excited. So you guys get excited for that. We're going to be reading that after we conclude the interview. But Brittany, thank you. It's been so much fun talking with you today. I feel like you have a lot that you're bringing to the table in the writing world, and I'm excited to see what happens once your book is released and people start reading it, and just the impact that you're going to have. Um, So, do you have anything that you want to close out, or anything you want to give a shout out to, or point us in the direction of before we close?
I'd like to shout out my best friend, writing partner, Shantae. I wouldn't be at this point if I didn't have her. I feel like she's been the rock, encouraging me to continue writing, even when I was sitting at the computer like I'm about to delete this entire thing. So I also just want to encourage people to continue. If you ever have a story that you want to write, don't ever stop. Just keep going. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. Just keep writing and tell your story, because I feel like everybody deserves to tell their story.
I love that, and I agree. Just write, guys. Like, this has been with each of the authors that we've spoken with. They say the same thing. Just do it. Just write. You have a story to tell, and tell it. Like, we all have a voice, and I'm excited to see what you guys birth. So send me some of these stories, okay? Like, I want to read them. We can do them on air. Just let me know. But back to you, Brittany. Um, I'm really grateful for you allowing me the opportunity to interview you. You're about to get real busy, you and Shantae, like taking over the writing world. So I'm lucky I got in when I did. While you still have some availability, pencil me in on your calendars in the future.
Right.
But it's been very awesome. Go enjoy your rest of your day in beautiful Hawaii. I'm not jealous. I'm jealous.
Yeah,
But hopefully I'll be visiting
I
there soon.
know. That'll be
Hey.
exciting.
So, hey, when I come, we can get together and have a little writing sesh.
I would love that. I need that in my life.
We got plans, guys. We got plans. So that was Brittany Gathing. And again, you can check her out. She has her website, which I'll have in the show notes. You can also find her on Amazon, where you can pre-order her book, The Unseen Age of Deliverance. I highly recommend it. And you can also find her on Kindle Vella, all right, with the story that we are about to read from. So get ready. Yeah. Okay, guys, we are going to be reading from Brittany's story, The Traveler's Journey. This is available on Kindle Vella. So we're going to read episode 1 entitled Vision. You can go to Kindle Vella and read the upcoming chapters. It's really good, so I'm excited to get into this story with you guys. Let the celebration commence! The chief called out for everyone in a 3-span radius to hear. The drumming started and he began to dance. He made his way to me. He was a large man, so his dance moves were as graceful as a baby elephant splashing in a puddle. But he managed to make it look like a dance made just for him. When he made it over to me, he scooped me up in his large arms and squeezed me until I almost couldn't breathe. "My little girl has grown up so fast," he said, stroking my hair and squeezing me tighter. "Papa, I can't breathe," I managed to squeeze out. He put me down and kissed my forehead. "Sorry, I'm just so proud of you. This day for a traveler of this tribe is the most important day of all, especially for you. With your 18th year, your power will manifest and you will grow into the seer you are meant to be." I know. I heard it a million times from Amma. I am a seer, and on my 18th birthday, I will have my first vision of the tribe's future. But what if I go to sleep and see nothing? Lenora, in 100 years of seers in this tribe, that has never happened. You will do wonderful things with your gift, and we will all be here to see you through them. Now, go find your mother. She has something special for you to wear. He kissed my forehead again and stomped off back to his dance. I made my way through the crowds of twirling, colorful skirts and the ringing of tambourines to find my mother sitting outside her wagon with a beautiful dress. She held it up for me to see when she spotted me coming her way. It was truly beautiful. Purple, turquoise, and green layered skirts with golden coins dangling from each layer, with our tribe's symbol pressed into each one. "It's perfect, Mama!" I complimented and ran into her arms. She laughed, embracing me back as tight as she could. "This dress will bring you luck. It was your Amma's when she had her first vision, and mine too. I dyed it your favorite color so it would feel like it's yours, and it will help with the visions." She looked at my face and saw my tears I had been trying to hide from her, and she wiped them away. "It's okay to be scared. I was scared on my first vision day. So much, in fact, I ran away for most of the day. And my papa, your appa, had to come find me. It turned out I had nothing to worry about. And neither will you. You will be amazing. All you have to do is let the vision come, and the rest is in fate's arms. Now, let's go get you some food. It's almost time." Mama and I sat while everyone passed the food around. I hadn't realized how hungry I was until all the delicious smells filled my nose. They were serving my favorite, purple flotuca. It's a truly beautiful bird with breathtaking feathers, and they taste wonderful, especially with Amma's corn pudding and Mama's flatbread. There were so many other treats, but I couldn't bring myself to try them all. I felt I might explode. It was time to go anyway. It's dusk, and It's time for my first vision. Everyone will watch and wait anxiously for me to return from my slumber. Amma approaches me with an outstretched hand and a smile from ear to ear. "Oh, my sweet girl, I'm so proud of you," she said as she pulled me into a hug. "This day marks the first day of your beautiful life as a seer, and you will do wondrous things. It may feel like a curse at first, but learning what to do with the visions you receive over the next years will be the best part of your journey. Now go find your papa. He is waiting for you." She sent me off with a kiss on the forehead and an encouraging smile, and I marched off with confidence to accept my destiny. Tonight is a celebration. My daughter Lenora is turning 18, but not only that, she also comes from an extensive line of seers, and we all know what that means. The crowd roared louder than I had ever heard them before. Tonight, she will be drinking the Midnight Sila essence to induce her visions. Her first will focus on the fate of our people. But don't worry, I feel nothing but good things coming our way. Now, Lenora, time to have your drink. Looking out at all the expecting eyes, just watching and waiting to know their fate, made my stomach turn. I could feel my dinner start to come back up, but I fight like hell to keep it down. I take the drink from my papa's hands and down it before I can even give myself a chance to run. Nothing happened. Everyone is still staring at me with their eager faces, waiting for me to fall asleep, but I feel nothing. "Papa, is this normal?" I asked, but when I looked at his face, it was frozen in a smile, as if he had suddenly been turned into a statue. It was the same for the others as well. Not one person moved. The vision had started. Unsure of what to look for, I just decided to walk. The eerie silence of the settlement was starting to get to me. Suddenly, a humming noise barely louder than a whisper broke the silence. I walked into the direction of the humming, and closer I got, the louder it became, until it was so loud I couldn't hear myself think. It was the large oak tree that stood in the middle of camp. I remember when I first saw it, it took my breath away, the sheer beauty of it. I played under it for hours as a child, and I never wanted to leave. Then the time for us to move on would come, as it always did, but Papa always made sure to come back here. This place was as close as a traveler like me would ever get to a home, and that tree is what makes it so. I used to think that it could speak to me, and maybe it did, and that's why I'm here now. The humming continued, but I quickly realized that the humming wasn't coming from the oak at all. The trunk of the tree was covered in bees, and with every passing moment, more and more bees came swallowing the large oak whole until not one leaf was visible. Then they began to migrate, leaving the tree behind, and the stench of death along with it. The tree had rotted in seconds, leaving nothing but the decayed body of my beloved oak to crumble. The swarm moved fast, heading straight for the nearest wagon, leaving it just as it had left the oak, stripped to its bare frames, empty with nothing left but rotted planks of wood someone used to call home. They continued until not one wagon was left untouched, and everything that we owned was destroyed. With tears streaming down my face, I ran back to my papa to try and wake him up from this horrible nightmare. But when I saw them, horror stopped me in my tracks. Everyone that had been watching me, including Papa's face, had sunk in, and there was darkness where their eyes had been. There were nothing but empty shells of who they were, and only moments later, they weren't even that. Everybody that stood before me disintegrated into ash before my eyes. A piercing scream escaped my lips that I never knew I was capable of, and it continued until I felt the warmth of Papa's arms around me once again. I was back to reality, and out of the nightmare that was my vision. The end. Guys, I am in it. I can't wait to see what happens next. Here's a brief note from the author, Brittany. Lenore and her journey is one of my favorites, and her destiny plays a big role in my new novel, The Unseen Age of Deliverance. I hope you enjoy this story just as much as I do. Guys, I loved it, and I hope that you did too. So I will see you again next week for Fictionary. Until next time, keep on reading, guys. And remember, check out the show notes because we have a lot of information and some links for you to follow so you can check out Brittany and the work that she has out there.